the first thing I noticed was her laugh. It wasn't the polite, controlled kind people copy in public spaces, or the half-hearted chuckle people release just to fill silence. Her laugh was unplanned. Wild. Honest. Like it came straight from somewhere deep and fearless in her chest. It cut through the noise of the rooftop party, rising above the music, above the chatter of strangers trying too hard to impress one another. I didn't even know her yet, but somehow that laugh already felt familiar. New York nights have a different kind of electricity. The air hums with unspoken stories. People stand close to each other without truly seeing one another. It was one of those nights, a coworker's birthday, overpriced drinks, city lights flickering like distant stars on uneven glass buildings. I didn't really want to be there, but my roommate had dragged me along, promising I'd meet someone interesting. "You need to get out of your cave, man," he'd said. So I was there, leaning against the edge of the balcony, watching taxis look like tiny sunlit bugs from 50 floors above the street. And that was when her laugh reached me. I turned. She was standing near the outdoor bar, hands flying wildly as she told a story no one else seemed to fully understand, yet everyone laughed anyway, because the way she told it made everything sound like magic. A strand of dark hair had escaped the loose knot on her head, brushing against her cheek every time she turned. Someone poured another drink into her glass. "Easy," a friend warned jokingly. "I'm celebrating life," she replied, lifting the glass like a victory flag. That's when I saw it, that glass was not her first. Her name was Elena. I learned it an hour later, after a random stranger introduced us like fate had simply grown bored of waiting. "This is Elena. And this is, sorry, I actually don't know your name." "Ryan," I said. "Nice to finally meet the mysterious balcony guy," she said, smiling in a slow, lazy way that carried too much honesty in it. There was something different in her eyes. Not the flirtatious sparkle people fake when they're bored. It was softer. Sadder. More dangerous in a quiet, emotional way. "You've been watching everyone all night," she teased. "Studying us like lab rats." "I prefer the term observing the chaos," I replied. She giggled. And then, suddenly, she leaned in just slightly. "Are you always this calm?" she asked. "Are you always this drunk?" I teased back. She didn't get offended. Instead, she grinned wider. "Only when life deserves a toast." We talked. About meaningless things at first. Music. Movies. Bad coffee. Good memories. Slowly, the background of the party disappeared. It felt like the city itself had drawn back to give us space. But I could tell, she wasn't fully there. The drinks were doing their slow work inside her mind, loosening her guard, blurring the sharpness of her judgment. And then it happened. Out of nowhere, as the cool night air rushed between us, she reached out. Her fingers brushed my jaw. The smile on her lips changed into something unsteady, something uncertain. And she leaned in. For a second, the world froze. Every cliché moment I'd ever seen in movies passed through my mind like a broken reel, the kiss, the music swelling, the lights dimming, the beginning of something beautiful. But this wasn't a movie. This was real life. And she was drunk. I gently held her wrist and stepped back just enough to break the moment. She blinked at me, confused. "What's wrong?" she whispered. I met her eyes. And with a calm honesty that surprised even me, I said, "If you were sober, I'd make the first move." Silence wrapped around us. Not uncomfortable. Just, clear. For a moment, I thought she'd be embarrassed. Or angry. Or ashamed. Instead, something changed in her gaze. Her smile disappeared, replaced by an expression I couldn't immediately read. Maybe respect. Maybe surprise. Maybe relief. "You're different," she breathed. Maybe I just respect you too much, I said. She looked down at her hands as if noticing them for the first time, as though suddenly becoming aware of all her choices that night. I'm sorry, she murmured. You don't need to be. The rest of that night didn't end with fireworks, kissing, or dramatic confessions. It ended with conversation. Real conversation. I made sure she drank water. Made sure she got a ride home with her friend. I didn't even take her number. Not because I didn't want to, but because something in me felt like if we were meant to meet again, it shouldn't be built on blurred vision and spinning rooms. As she walked away, she turned once, just once. And said, if I ever see you again, I hope I'm sober. 3 weeks later, I saw her again. Not at a party. Not in the dark. But in a small bookstore cafe with warm yellow lights and soft jazz humming through hidden speakers. This time she was raw, real, and sober. She smiled first. So, she said, stepping closer. Are you still waiting to make the first move? I smiled back. Only because this time, it actually means something. That morning turned into afternoon. Afternoon into evening. We talked about the things we'd avoided that night, fears, heartbreaks, ambitions, the invisible wounds people usually hide behind humor. She admitted she drank because silence scared her. I admitted I stayed away from connection because loss scared me. Somewhere between laughter and truth, connection formed. Not forced. Not rushed. Not careless. Real. Slow. Safe. From that moment on, love wasn't built on a drunken impulse. It was built on choice. On respect. On clarity. On two people deciding, with open eyes, to step forward together. And when we finally did kiss, it wasn't sloppy. It wasn't impulsive. It was quiet. It was powerful. It was everything that moment on the rooftop could never have been. Because this time, she was sober. And this time, I finally made the first move. Our first real kiss didn't happen in that cafe. Even after her question, are you still waiting to make the first move? I didn't rush it. I just watched her eyes. They were steady this time. No blur. No escape. No artificial confidence created by alcohol. Just her, completely present. And strangely, that made my heart beat faster than any wild night ever could. We walked together instead. Out into the street. Past people who were rushing somewhere important. Past lovers holding hands. Past lonely souls pretending they were just checking their phones. The city didn't feel loud anymore. It felt like it had finally quieted down so I could hear her clearly. You didn't take my number that night, she said as we crossed an intersection. It didn't feel right, I replied. Most guys would have seen that as an opportunity. Most guys don't know your worth, I said, without trying to be smooth. She stopped walking. Turned and stared at me like I'd just opened a locked door inside her chest. You don't even know me, she said softly. No, I agreed. But I want to. The real version. Not the one hidden behind a glass. She smiled. And for the first time, her smile wasn't chaotic or reckless. It was warm. Genuine. Safe. Then I guess, we should start over, she said, extending her hand. Hi, I'm Elena. Fully sober, occasionally strange, sometimes afraid of silence, but trying. I took her hand like it meant something sacred. Hi. I'm Ryan. Emotionally cautious, painfully honest, and trying to believe again. That was our beginning. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into rituals. Morning texts saying, "Did you sleep okay?" Late night calls where neither of us spoke, yet both of us listened. Conversations that dove so deep into our pasts that sometimes it felt like therapy, sometimes like drowning, but always like healing. She told me about her last relationship, how love had turned into control, how affection had become manipulation, how alcohol became her escape, her armor. I told her about my family, about my mother's illness, my father's emotional absence, how I'd learned to lock feelings into quiet rooms so they wouldn't hurt me anymore. And somehow, in sharing those wounds, we began stitching each other back together. But real love always comes with a storm. And ours came on a rainy Thursday night. She asked me to meet her at the same rooftop where we first met. The wind was colder now. The sky darker. The laughter replaced by silence. She looked different that night, tense, guarded, conflicted. "You remember what you said to me that first night?" she asked. "I remember everything," I said. "It changed me," she whispered. "No one had ever stopped me before. No one had ever cared if I was okay mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Most people just saw a drunk girl and an easy moment." She stepped closer. "But now I'm scared, Ryan." "Of what?" "Of needing you," she said. "Of depending on you for something I should find in myself. I'm scared of becoming weak again." Those words hit me harder than any insult ever could. I placed my hands on the railing, looking out at the city that never seemed afraid of falling apart. Loving someone wasn't the scary part. Losing yourself inside them was. "You don't need me to be whole," I said after a long pause. "I don't want to be your crutch, Elena. I want to be your partner. There's a difference." She searched my face for lies. For manipulation. For sweet words hiding poison. And found none. "So what do we do?" she asked. "We don't rush. We don't cling. We grow separately, and if our paths stay aligned, then we walk them together. By choice. Not by fear." Tears rolled down her cheek, but this time, they weren't alcoholic tears. They were real. Cleansing. Free. That's when she stepped forward, slow, intentional, fully aware. "Then do it," she whispered. "Do what?" "Make the first move, because I'm finally ready." I did. And when our lips met this time, it wasn't messy or rushed or dramatic. It was quiet. Heavy with meaning. A promise without words. The kind of kiss that doesn't steal breath, but gives it. But life doesn't stay perfect just because love arrives. A month later, her past came knocking. He showed up at her job, her ex. The one who made her drink. The one who made her doubt her worth. The one who left invisible scars she never showed on her skin. "You think you're better than me now?" he laughed. "Look at you. Miss Changed. Miss Pure again. She called me that night with a trembling voice. "Ryan. I'm scared." "I'm on my way," I said without thinking. When I arrived, she stood outside, shaking, eyes wide, memories attacking her mind. And I realized something in that moment. Love wasn't just about kisses and warmth. It was about standing between the past and the person you care about. "He doesn't own you," I said, stepping closer. "Your past doesn't own you. And your mistakes don't define you. You define you." That night, instead of her running to a bottle, she ran to me. And instead of me running from emotions, I let her cry against my chest until the world felt quiet again. Weeks later, she stood in front of a mirror at my place and said something I'll never forget. "I don't recognize the woman I used to be." "And do you like the one you see now?" I asked. She smiled. "I love her. And I love the fact that she chose herself first," I replied. Months passed. One evening, we returned to that rooftop once more. Same city. Same height. But completely different people. She held my hand this time without hesitation. Without uncertainty. Without fear. Funny how everything started here, she said. No, I corrected, squeezing her hand gently. Everything started when I chose to respect you, and when you chose to wake up. She turned to me, smile filled with gratitude and understanding. You saved me that night. I shook my head. No, you saved yourself. I just reminded you that you were worth saving. And there, under silent stars. She whispered the words that made every past heartbreak worth surviving. I'm glad you waited. So am I replied. Because real love doesn't rush. It waits. It protects. It heals. And it chooses, even when it's hard. Love didn't fix everything. It didn't erase her past. It didn't magically remove my fears. It didn't make the world softer overnight. But it gave us a reason to try. 1 year had passed since that rooftop night. And what started as a quiet boundary turned into the loudest, strongest relationship of my life. Elena hadn't touched a drop of alcohol since that night. She started painting again, something she had abandoned in her darkest days. She said colors finally made sense to her again. Her apartment walls slowly filled with new life, gold sunrises, oceans breaking through storms, silhouettes of two people standing on a roof under a city sky. Which one is that? I asked once, pointing at a painting of two shadows holding hands. She looked at it for a long time. That's the moment I became sober, she whispered. One night, as we sat together on her floor, surrounded by unfinished canvases, she held my face in both hands and said, "Do you know what you really did that night?" "You mean the rooftop?" "You didn't just stop a kiss," she said. "You stopped a cycle." I felt my chest tighten. No one ever told me I deserved clarity. No one ever told me I was worth waiting for. You made me feel human again, not just desirable. And you taught me that connection doesn't have to be chaotic to be powerful, I replied. Outside, thunder echoed, the kind that once scared her into pouring another drink. Tonight, she didn't flinch. Because she wasn't running anymore. She had chosen presence over escape. But one final test waited for us. She got an offer. A gallery in California saw her work online. They wanted her for a 6-month residency. 6 months. Across the country. Dream-level opportunity. A life-changing moment. But I was here. My job. My family. My commitments. She placed the letter on the table between us, hands trembling again, but this time not from fear. Say something, she whispered. You have to go, I said immediately. Her eyes filled with tears. But that means leaving you. It means becoming you, I answered. And I won't be the reason you shrink. You could come with me. And one day, I might, I smiled. But right now, I want you to fly freely. Because the girl who once tried to kiss me drunk, now deserves to be the woman who chases her dream completely sober. She cried that night. But they were not sad tears. They were victory tears. The 6 months felt like years. Long-distance love isn't poetry. It's patience. Silence. Missing. Longing. Trust. Some nights we fell asleep on video calls without even speaking. Just breathing together in different time zones. Holding on to a connection built on respect. And then. One evening, I got a message. Come to the gallery tonight. 8 p.m. Don't be late. I flew to California without telling her. The gallery was crowded. Bright. Alive. Full of people admiring her work. And there she was, standing in the middle of it all. Confident. Proud. Radiant. On the central wall was her largest painting yet. A rooftop. 2 figures. A city. A moment frozen forever. Under the painting was the title. If you were sober, I'd make the first move. She turned. Our eyes locked. The room disappeared. She walked up to me with a smile that held every memory we ever shared. Well, she said softly. Care to finally make that move again? I smiled. This time. I never stopped making it. And in front of everyone, under the painting that held our origin story. I kissed her. Not as a moment. Not as a memory. But as a forever.